Like, it was gonna get to a point where I knew I was gonna get laid off. And at that point, to be honest, I only quit my job. Next question comes from Vendetta, and he asks, content creation versus a real job, and he put that in quotation marks, real steady job. If the idea you have for your channel or whatever your platform you want to use is something you really want to do but isn't realistic, like a 9-to-5, is it worth going for? Should you do a 9-to-5 instead you have a platform to quit? Should you do a 9-to-5 until you have a platform then quit? So basically it sounds to me like he wants to get into content creation, but I'm gonna guess somebody in your family doesn't believe that you can do it. They don't think it's realistic, or you might think that it's not realistic. You might be just you doubting yourself. I always tell people, don't quit school, don't quit your job to become a fucking YouTuber or a Twitch streamer or Instagram or doing all that shit, or a TikToker. Yes, there is a ton of money to be made, but it is not easy. It is very hard, like everything else. I actually really hate the question when people be like, yo, what can I do to get more views? I've been doing this shit for 12 years and every day I learn something new. 12 years. I started my first YouTube channel when I was 17. I am 29 now. And I'm just now starting to make some serious fucking money. And I love it. Which, by the way, but that's the point I'm trying to make. Like, they say that, you know, an overnight success takes 10 years on average. And I find it to be true. It took me 12. I remember there was like a speech Meek Mill gave. He's like, it took me 13 years. Why can't it take you? Just because you didn't see somebody's grind doesn't mean they wasn't grinding. You just started paying attention. Don't you ever forget that. But I'm not speaking to you specifically. That's beside the point. I would advise you to keep your job, stay in school, and do content creation on the side. Because one thing you got to realize is you might get into it and find that you don't like it, and then you get stuck and disgruntled and shit like that. So I honestly, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. I don't know if I said this on a podcast or on a stream. So everybody knows I was a teacher in my past life. The only reason I quit my job, I could have quit my job early on. I've been a full-time content creator for 6 years now. So 6 years ago, I quit my job at, wait, let's see. Was it 20, 28, 29? Yeah, I was like 23 or 24 when I quit my job. I'm sorry, I had to do the math. I don't be knowing how old I am. 23, I was like 23 or 24 when I quit my job. The only reason I quit my job is because it was, first of all, it was a government job. I was teaching like kids who were, they were the kids of like Pentagon. They were Pentagon parents. Like, their parents worked in the Pentagon. They were like diplomats and like generals and colonels and stuff like that, high-ranking people. So I had a government job, and the only reason I quit was because the furlough had happened that year, and they were cutting people's hours and they were laying people off at my job. And eventually it got to me, they cut my hours, and like the writing was on the wall. Like, it was gonna get to a point where I knew I was gonna get laid off. And at that point, to be honest, I only quit my job. No, I don't want to quit my job. Where am I going with this? Oh, at that point, the only reason that I didn't quit my job was I was making enough money at that time when the furlough was happening. I was making enough money off at that time to quit my job. But the concept of being a full-time like content creator was like so new back then. Like, it was like scary to me, so I wasn't comfortable with like quitting my job. It wasn't a lot of people that I knew that was doing it, but I was making enough money. Like, I did the numbers in my head. I was making enough money to where I could quit my job and become a full-time content creator. But I didn't, because I just wanted to get out the house. Honestly, I was doing YouTube and Twitch on the side, and I was making enough money to pay my rent and live comfortably, but I still went to work every day and worked a full-time job, by the way, fucking 60-hour weeks and shit, being a teacher. And I'd come home and I'd have like real late nights. A lot of times I didn't go to bed till like 3, 4. That's beside the point. Only reason I quit is because I was gonna get laid off. I knew the writing was on the wall. They cut my hours. I went from full-time to part-time. I was like, oh, it's only a matter of time before they lay me off. So I put my 2 weeks in. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna roll the dice and try it and see where it goes. And if it doesn't work, I'm gonna freaking, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm gonna go find a different job. But from what I find, it's a lot of people out here. They get like 5,000 followers. They start getting cocky and shit like that. And then the next thing you know, they quit their job and they're like, I'm gonna go full-time content creator. I got 20 views on Twitch. I think I can get a sponsorship with G Fuel. Next thing you know, they make a video crying, I'm sorry guys, I let you down. No, you let yourself down. You're a fucking idiot, bro. I don't feel bad for people like that. Like I said, I had been making, you got to get to a point. To me, I looked at YouTube and Twitch as like a way to fund my hobby. I was still going to work full time every day and I was making enough money, but I just used it to buy video games and do more reviews. I was like, I'm not gonna try to live off this shit. But because I got cut from my job, it kind of forced my hand. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try this and go full time and focus my energy on it and see how it works and just try to learn the business and shit like that. So I always encourage people to answer your question. Keep your job, stay in school, whatever productive, positive thing you're doing, you should always have multiple sources of income, multiple ways of doing things, and then build up your platform on the side. And if things start to work out for you and you start crunching the numbers and you think, I can make this work, then sure, go for it. But it's too many people jumping the gun, bro. Get 100 viewers on Twitch and think they about to live off that shit, bro. Like, nah, dog. You got to learn how to get sponsorships. You got to learn how to produce different types of content that can attract sponsorships and shit like that. Like, it's to the point, like, I'm not even trying to brag. It's to the point where, like, this episode of this podcast pays my rent. And this is just me recording me talking about life and video games for an hour. This episode will pay my rent next month. Everything that I make off Twitch, everything that I make off YouTube, everything that I make off of like merch and stuff, I pocket it. And also taxes. So like that's what I would advise you to. If you want to get into content creation, understand. And that also that hygiene thing, that's a long-term project. I'm gonna start making money on that eventually too. But I'd advise you to come up with as many different forms of content that you can produce as possible and try to find ways to monetize it as quickly as possible. And then when you have a bunch of different eggs, then take that risk. But too many people get excited because they have 1,000 subs on Twitch and they say they're gonna become a full-time content creator. Be like, so you're just gonna rely on one source? Because I'm gonna be honest, if Twitch stops or if YouTube stops, I'm still fine. Like, I have other sources. I can do merch. I can do the podcast. Shit, I can get the hygiene thing popping. I can find a different way to get money. So I would advise you to think about business a lot. Don't be like me. I made the mistake of I used to always think if you're hot, if your content's hot, the money will come to you. No, you gotta learn the business. I've become much more business savvy over the probably last 2 to 3 years. And now it's fuck you, pay me. I'm not playing that shit no more. Motherfuckers want me to play. Motherfuckers want me to. You know why so many games are getting uninstalled now? Because those games I was never interested in, and people donated them. My rule is if you don't come through to the Twitch stream, so you know, my rule is if I play a game, if there's a game you want me to play and I'm not interested in it, I'm not paying for it for my own money. You can donate $100. Why you gotta donate $100? The game only $60, man. I'll donate the $60. Nope. I gotta make a profit. $60 goes towards the game, and then I make $40 in profit. Honestly, I should charge y'all $120. I should, so I make $60 in profit. Because the reality is I'm not interested in these games, and that's why you see more uninstalled videos, because I'm not interested in these games. People want me to play them. You got to pay me now. You got to pay me to get a headache. And you'd be surprised when you speak things into existence that you get it. You got to be aggressive. You got to be assault. You got to be an assassin. You got to be alpha, bro. Real shit. I'm over here talking about business, but yeah, I think you should do a 9-to-5. I think you should stick to your 9-to-5, stick to your job. You should never put your eggs in one basket. And that has nothing to do with content creation. That's life and period, dog. That's life and period. Like, that's literally what I wrap my brain around all day. How can I bring in a different source of income? That's what you should be thinking about, as well as good content. But anyways, I hope that answered your question. The next question comes from Jack John Jenga, and he says,